Is a brutal home schedule this year, too. So.
Mike Bradley, thank you for coming in.
My
talking
pleasure.
to us on this Friday
Have a great
morning.
weekend.
We'll do. You too. He's going to have 6 TVs going this week.
4.
4?
And a computer.
Oh, one of the Ayers cut too. Oh, okay.
All right, it is the #1 topic as we approach the midterm elections. Is there any hope on the job front?
Senator Ted Kaufman from Delaware is here to talk this morning about jobs and oh so much more. We come right back. Come on down.
Today's Fox 29 Weather Authority 5-day forecast is brought to you by Dorney Park in Wildwater Kingdom.
At Purina One, we want your cat to be as healthy as possible. So we set out to discover the nutritional science and some of nature's best ingredients. That's how we created Purina One with Smart Blend. Nutritionally optimized with real salmon, wholesome grains, and essential antioxidants. For strong muscles, vital energy, a healthy immune system, and a real difference in your cat. Purina One, improved with Smart Blend. Discover what one can do.
It's back to school time and kids have no interest. So at Neely's Furniture, we think it's only fair you have no interest either. No interest on this or these at our biggest ever Labor Day sale. In fact, you won't have any interest for 4 whole years. The exact amount of time you had no interest in high school. Our biggest ever Labor Day sale right now at Neely's. 4 years, no interest on everything, which ought to get everyone, almost everyone, interested. Neely's Furniture, same day delivery, every day. Just what you're looking for.
Smooth skin?
Not good enough.
Now get baby smooth perfection with new Dream Smooth Mousse from Maybelline, New York. Some makeups leave skin rough, dry. Ours is cream whipped, so it hydrates. Skin looks flawless. Baby smooth. New Dream Smooth, only from Maybelline.
Erase all those little voices in your head that say, look at that wrinkle.
Introducing the Eraser Foundation from Maybelline. Our patented applicator and formula with collagen goes beyond covering. Micro-corrects, micro-erases signs of aging. The Eraser, only from Maybelline, New York.
Everybody pick up your safety goggles.
I don't like goggles.
Now, carefully pick up your beaker.
I don't like beakers. I don't like science.
Evil Krabby! Turkey sausage to the rescue.
I want to be a scientist.
Jimmy D's, help your kids fight off morning villains.
So why are over 1,000 people a day switching to Chevrolet?
I need something I can rely on, so the warranty is a big deal.
It covers you for $40,000 more than Honda and Toyota. It's the Chevrolet Summer Event. You may want to call dibs.
Qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on this Traverse LS for around $299 a month. Call for details. Or get 0% APR for 60 months or $3,000 cash back on 2010 Malibu models. Visit ChevyDealer.com.
Public notice! Farm on Mills! Happy anniversary! Now, it's our biggest back-to-school and fall fashion event with denim for the whole family, premium washes, great fit, 2 for $10. School uniform skirts and pants, 2 for $15. Uniform shoes, $10. Uniform tops, 2 for $9. Backpacks, $7. And arriving daily, fresh new fall fashion plaid, stripes, roll-up woven, military looks, skinny fits, destruction fashion, $8. Now, come stretch those bills at Farm on Mills!
Welcome back to Good Day. Look at this. This is in Nags Head, North Carolina. It's really starting to hit, Sue.
It is. This is where it's going to be at its worst. What you're seeing there in North Carolina is not as bad as it's going to be here. Having said that, though, winds are going to be picking up with Earl as it gets closer, and it is moving away from North Carolina. So whatever we're going to be getting during the day today from Hurricane Earl. Now let's take a look at the tropical storm warning that's in effect for the day. These are the kind of winds you can expect at the shore, 30 to 40 miles an hour sustained, and that's pretty strong. It's not the worst that it can be, and the worst of the winds from the storm are far offshore, but gusts as high as 50 miles an hour at the New Jersey and the Delaware beaches. Here's Bus Stop Buddy. He's getting ready for a shore weekend, but as we keep telling you, Earl is only a factor today at the shore. It's going to be amazing the rest of the holiday weekend, and we'll give you that in-depth forecast coming up. Have the umbrella nearby. You could see a stray shower or two inland, but most of the rain will be at the shore from Earl. Mostly cloudy, not as hot today as it has been. We ended our heat wave yesterday with a high of 95. Today, 85 degrees, and we'll see a few peaks of sunshine, especially later on in the day. 63 is our overnight low as the clouds slowly clear, and it will become breezy with 10 to 15 mile-an-hour winds out of the northwest. So that's a look at your Foxcast from the Weather Authority. It is 7:31. And we want you to know before you go that we're taking a live look at Route 309 by Fort Washington. Northbound traffic is making its way toward Susquehanna Road with no problems. No delays southbound as drivers make their way toward Easton Road. Now we head over to the maps where we have a downed pole on Bustleton Avenue in the Somerton section of the city. And right now it has Bustleton closed between Tomlinson Road and Burgess Street. You can take the Roosevelt Boulevard as an alternate. Expect delays in that area. 2 games in South Philadelphia this afternoon and this evening. Temple plays Villanova at the Link at 5 o'clock, and the Phillies play the Brewers at 7:05, so you can expect some delays on I-95 and Broad Street starting later on this afternoon. Take the subway, John.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. Yeah. Thank goodness the Flyers don't open camp for another week or so.
That would be
That would be it. All right, new job numbers expected later this morning. The predictions are out there that they're going to show another 120,000 jobs lost, pushing the unemployment rate up slightly to 9.6%. We're hearing still these terms, double-dip recession, all that. Are we moving anywhere in the right direction?
That's the question to ask, but it seems like as far as your answer is concerned, it depends on who you ask. Let's bring in Delaware Senator Ted Kaufman. He's with us this morning. He just held a job fair. Our own Shawnette Wilson was out there. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning to you.
And you were talking to Shawnette, and it seems like what we're hearing overwhelmingly, people are frustrated, even with your job fair. You know, it's a slow process. You still have to go. You have to wait in line. You still have to apply online, wait for somebody to call you back.
There aren't jobs. I mean, the job fair was incredible. I mean, I really, it's one of the best things I've done. But it's 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, 1,000 people came and we had jobs. Some of them will get jobs, some won't get jobs. But this is going on for way too long. And I think, you know, we just had, as we said at the time, the worst recession since the Depression. We've had nothing like this in 50 years. And so people, you know, people aren't ready for it. They never experienced it. None of us have experienced it. Maybe, you know, some of the people in the 90s and hundreds are experiencing it, but the rest of us have never experienced anything even close to this. So it's really frustrating. And we did real well with the Recovery Act. Jobs started coming together, but now the question is, you know, are we going to go in this double dip? I do not, by the way, I do not think we will.
You don't think so?
No, I do not, but we're right on the cusp, and we're going to see what happens next.
What will avoid going into that double dip? What has to happen?
Well, what has to happen is, basically, if you talk to economists on Wall Street, most of them will say the Recovery Act worked and brought the economy back. It was a deep hole. We got up a little bit out of the hole, but at some point, the private sector has to step in and take over. And right now, there's millions of dollars. The banks have trillions of dollars. The corporations have trillions of dollars. And this is one where I think there's bipartisan agreement, and that is that now it's time for the private sector to step in and start hiring people, because they have not done it. Now, what usually happens when you have a recession, and what's happened in the last 10 recessions, is the jobs lag the recession, the economy. So the economy's come back. Now it's leveled off. And now it's hopefully it's the time for the private sector to come.
How much does politics play in this? I heard one guy say, I think he was on the Democratic side, screaming, oh, the Republicans are saying it's going to be bad, you know, up until the elections, and then maybe they'll start to try and help make this better. Or, you know, where does politics play in all of this?
Well, I think politics plays a part in terms of, you know, it's when the Democrats are controlled, it's in the Republicans' interest to say bad.
Right, but then if it's bad,
by the way, look, I don't think that, you know, I don't think that's the cause of the problem.
No, it's clearly bad.
I mean, people look at the numbers and they see what's going on. They know what it is. You know, the old thing about, you know, a downturn is when the guy down the streets loses a job. A recession is when your brother loses a job, and a depression is when you lose your job. And that's we're not into depression, but we went through. Christy Romer just left from the Council of Economic Advisors, and she talked about. I mean, I was there in January last year. And they didn't know. No one knew. Bush administration, Obama administration, how bad this was going to be. This was so much worse than anything we'd ever experienced. And when you're going down, you don't know where the bottom is.
Yeah.
So we hit bottom, then we came up again. But turn this thing around is really important. The interesting thing is, you know, there's a lot, talk about politics, a lot of Republicans say, well, the Recovery Act. If we hadn't done the Recovery Act, looking back in history, look where we'd be. Because right now, some of the money is running out of the Recovery Act. The question is going to be, when you look back historically, which the Recovery Act probably should have been 50% bigger than what it was.
Oh, see, and I guess it's just because you asked, because I remember Pat Toomey was here not too long ago. Of course, he says the opposite. So, and the reality is, we'll never know, because
well, the reality we do know. What we do know is, we do know that if you go back and look at the data just a year and a half ago, Dow Jones Industrial Average turned around in March 2009. Jobs stopped going down in March 2009. Gross domestic product stopped going down and started up in March 2009. I wonder what happened in March 2009.
Right. Well, you're certain, but, really quickly, because we're almost out of time.
Sure.
We know you're in the Armed Services Committee.
Sure.
President Obama had to stop talking about jobs for a moment to talk about the withdrawal, to the end of official fighting in Iraq. Is this really the end?
No, I don't think you're going to see any mission accomplished signs up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that. I was over in Iraq just a month ago, as I know, and I've talked to you every time I've come back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Things look very good in Iraq, but it is tough going. Look, these countries, we don't control things anymore. And let me just start by saying this about Iraq and Afghanistan. Whatever you hear about any of them, our military has performed incredibly, and I could go on for many more families. They've done the job, and they're doing the job in Afghanistan. The problem is in these kinds of things, you get back to what they call counterinsurgency. What you're trying to do, it isn't us. I mean, we got to go in there, we got to put the troops on the ground, or the bad guys will just shoot everybody.
Yeah.
So we're in there providing the security, then the government's got to come and hold. And, some of these folks running some of these governments over there, anyway, it's not, as I said to my wife after I got my first trip to Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, there aren't any George Washingtons out there.
It's scary.
And so this thing, what's going on with Karzai right now is really with the, him putting the kibosh on the corruption, with him announcing today again that NATO was to blame. He doesn't know who's to blame. It's in the papers. NATO's to blame. So it's really, I said in the beginning, I came after my first trip, and I think I was on your show, and I said, I'm really concerned. My big concern in this is not the military. They'll do the job. Not the job the United States will do. The job of what Karzai will do. Because in the end, the decision the people in Afghanistan have to make is not between us, because we're going to be out of there.
Yeah.
The question is basically, do they want the Taliban or they don't want the Karzai government? And so we're really tied to the Karzai government. Now, the one thing I did do, I talked to General Petraeus when he was up before the Armed Services Committee personally. I said, you're making the same pledge to me made to General McChrystal. And that what the President said, December this year, we're going to take a top-to-bottom look at what we're doing in Afghanistan before we decide we move forward. And then in July next year, we're definitely going to start bringing troops down. He'd look me right in the eye and said, just McChrystal, he's absolutely December, we're going to take a top-to-bottom look at this thing. So that's what I'm waiting for.
All right. Stellar Senator Ted Kaufman, we could talk to you all day.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning. And you mentioned our military, man. We should remind you again on the 10th, on Friday, September 10th, we're saluting our military. We're shutting down the block. We're inviting everybody to come down, bring your pictures. It's going to be a good deal. Thanks for coming in this morning.
They do so much for us. Yeah, thank you. Well, the cupcake lady may not be out of business just yet. Frank Devlin from the Philadelphia Business Journal is back with an update on that story.
All right.